Hey, y'all. You are listening to Definitely Not For Everyone with your girl, Nicolette, my co host, Diana. We are here today with the beautiful and incredible Jacqueline Mayorga. Say hello to the audience, please.
Hi
Hi.
everyone. Thank you for having me here.
AKA Jackie MR50, right? For TikTok?
For TikTok, it's Gorda Corajuda.
Ah, okay. See,
Yeah,
all
that
right,
was my
cool.
email. Yeah.
Oh shit, sorry. I'll cut that out. All right. So basically, the reason why I have you here, the reason why I wanted you to come onto the show is for me and Diana to be able to say thank you to you, right? Like this pandemic has been shit, right?
Mhm.
BLM, like all the things have been happening, and you have been able to say all the things that I have wanted to say that I didn't know that I wanted to say and I didn't know how to say, right? You got all the definitions and all the words. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. Thank you for being on TikTok. Thank you for educating the masses. Um, and yeah, thank you, Mama. We appreciate you.
For me, it's so validating to first of all, when people started following me on TikTok, I was like, really? Like y'all are listening to me? Because like my family is always tells me to shut up and stop talking about it. And when I started posting on TikTok and I blew up really quickly, I
Hmm.
think by the 2 weeks had passed since I got my TikTok account and I already had 10,000 followers.
Mm.
And I was like, whoa, this is like coming out of nowhere. So it was super validating for me to feel like to finally see that I'm not the only one that's thinking these things, like we're all feeling the same. I was like, oh my God, okay, people want to hear this stuff. It's so great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really did. Yeah. And for me, my story is I'm mixed, right? I'm half Japanese and half black. And so like coming to terms with an identity or my identity has been difficult to say the least. And so anyway, but hearing you talk and be able to express yourself so freely and so honestly and so openly and so decisively, like that has really been an inspiration for me to also like speak up and speak out and like say the thoughts and not think that I'm a fucking idiot for thinking and feeling the way that I do. So again, thank you. um but before we get into the questions, usually how I like to begin the show is by starting off with us talking about how we would define ourselves, I guess. Some people don't like defining themselves, so that's okay. You can just talk about maybe how you feel today. So we'll start it off.
Mhm.
Di, you gonna go first? I know
Oh,
exactly what she's gonna say.
what I say every time, I am
Cold,
cold and I am
hungry.
hungry. Every time. I'm always cold at this time of night and I'm always hungry,
That's how she
but
defines herself, cold and hungry.
cold and hungry.
That's a
That's
solid
me.
definition.
Thank you. Thank you. She makes fun of me. That's 20 years of friendship here. So she makes fun of me a lot. You're gonna find. And I love you though. And I am happy. I'm happy to meet you and to talk with you. I love it. I love it. I'm a little older probably than you. And in the 90s, you remind me of me, where I was in college and we were starting a movement again, because there's always a movement. Every decade there's a movement. I was a part of the 90s movement and our voices, we didn't have social media. And it just amazes me and delights me to see young women out there speaking their mind, educating, not just talking, but educating makes my heart full. So I am so glad to meet you. And I look forward to hearing your story.
Y'all know me. I'm Nicolette. I already defined some part of myself, but I'm also a mama of two girls that drive me up the fucking wall. For real, for real. I have a husband who is working upstate in Saranac Lake. He's 5 hours away. And man, it's been 2 weeks since I saw him, and I really would love some dick, but whatever. Um, and yeah, that's me. What
Okay.
about you, Jackie?
I love that. I love the no filters. Okay, cool.
None.
Um,
She has none.
Okay, now I'm not gonna censor myself then. I would describe myself as this kind of feels like a job interview, like the question, right?
Totally.
About yourself. Can you tell me okay,
I know, it's like you can depend on me,
Yeah.
and I'm very
reliable, I'm a
organized.
perfectionist. Okay, okay. I would describe myself, I'm a fighter, definitely a leader. I'm an educator, I'm a boss bitch,
That's
and
right.
I'm a chingona, which is Spanish for boss bitch, but like
That's right.
with more of an oomph. And I'm also a daughter and an eldest sibling. So like
Oh.
a parent too.
Yeah,
Mhm,
there we go.
Yes.
There we
mhm,
go.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yeah, definitely. We'll talk a little bit about that too, I'm sure. So yeah, let's get into the questions then, since you've already kind of gone there. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? Like a picture of what a typical day in the life of you was when you were little. Like what were your parents like? Were they like very traditional, or were they religious, or were they not? That kind of thing.
mhm. Well, my childhood is very odd in the sense of we moved around a lot.
Mm.
So I'm the daughter of two immigrant parents. And so, kind of typical story where our family moved around a lot looking for work and chasing lower rent prices. So, I kind of became an expert at adapting to new situations and
Mm.
I became really good at reading people and like, how am I supposed to act in this environment versus this environment?
Mm.
Um, my parents were religious, but not really religious in the sense where like we had to go to church every Sunday and we had to pray before we went to sleep. But other than that, they weren't too strict about anything else. It was just kind of like the Mexican version of Catholicism, where like we're afraid of going to hell, but we don't really want to do everything that the church wants us to do because that's too much work. Like, I'm not going to make you read the Bible, but also the devil will come for you if you do bad things, like that kind of thing.
I love it. That's the
That-
best kind of religious parent.
yeah, I was like, I like some of my friends, like their parents actually like made them read the Bible and stuff. I'm like, oh, thank God. They just make me go to church. That's all they do. Like, I really appreciate them. Um, I'm the oldest of four. So I was my parents' experiment child.
Mm-hmm.
And then I basically got to raise my four younger siblings. The youngest one, I'm 15 years older than her.
Wow.
So she's literally
Your
my baby.
baby.
Yeah. My mom was really afraid, like when you're young and you have a boyfriend and you go through a phase where you're like, I really want a baby. My mom believed that I was gonna get pregnant because I was going through a phase where like I had baby fever. And so she just decided to get pregnant herself with our
Wow.
youngest. So and I was like, Mom, I would never get pregnant. Like I have baby fever, but I'm not like, I don't want to be a teen mom. And she's like, whatever, this is your quinceañera present.
Oh
There you
shit.
go.
That is fucking awesome. Your mother is fucking awesome. That is
Yeah.
the smartest shit I have ever heard in my life. I will never do that shit because I don't want a baby at no 50 at, well, how my kids go. Wow. Go
Mhm.
mom. Sorry,
Yeah.
I interrupted.
No, you're totally fine. How old was my mom? My mom was 36 when she had the youngest. Yeah. Yeah, she had us pretty young.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
Then maybe I would have. Maybe.
Yeah.
Be like, here's a present, baby.
Here you
A
go.
baby.
I mean, I just think that she's using that as an excuse, but because she really wanted another kid.
Aw.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh, it reminds me of mine. My oldest is 26, and then I have a 21, and then I have a 14. So the difference between the 26 and the 14, but boys
Yeah.
are different. He didn't look at it as, oh, baby fever, this is mine. No, he was like, keep him away from me. Keep him away from me. Mom, that's your responsibility. That is your responsibility.
That is hilarious. So,
So
like,
tell us more about your school, high school. How is it like for you?
Yeah. So like I said, since we were moving around a lot, we moved around specifically the most when I was in elementary school and middle school. I think I went to a total of 5 different elementary schools and 2 different middle schools. So it was a lot of adapting. And obviously, I went through a phase because the moving around is not healthy for any kid. So I kind of became a bad kid in middle school.
Mm.
And my parents were like, yeah, we have to take her out of this environment because we don't want her to like end up in juvie. We don't want her to like end up pregnant, anything like that. So they moved us to the suburbs for high school, and I stayed at the same high school all 4 years.
Huh.
And I really needed that. It was a completely different environment from where I was in middle school. It was a very prejudiced area
Mm.
where like we were really segregated. So the people of color were in their own bubble and the white community was in its own bubble. And even in school, it was very clear like kids didn't interact with one another. It was super divided. And we all basically were told, like, oh, you're a person of color, you're going to do bad. So
Mm.
obviously, it was the best learning environment. So my parents wanted to take us out of that. And in the suburb where we lived, it had a really big Latinx population. So that was a huge culture shock for me. It went from like being judged for being a person of color to like no longer being the only person of color in the
Mm.
classroom. So it was a huge change, and that really helped me like blossom and become confident once again.
Nice.
So cool. Wow.
Nice.
And then what happened? I have a quick question in between that, right?
Yeah.
So your siblings too. So
Mhm.
they didn't have obviously the same experience that you did in terms of like moving around a lot. Like where are they now?
Yeah. So we're all 5 years apart. Like my mom like had us all 5 years apart. So 15 years older than the youngest one, 5 years from the other one. So me and my sister Giselle, who's the one that's right after me, we kind of had a similar experience.
Right.
Mm.
Because she was old enough to like she was in
Right.
kindergarten when the moving around started, but she didn't experience a huge one because I went from being in the States to then being moved to Mexico to then 4 years being moved
Oh.
back to the States. So she didn't
Oh.
feel that as much as I did. But
Mm.
obviously, it's still not ideal, right? Like
Mm.
Yeah.
she was younger, it was harsher on her because making
Mm-hmm.
friends at a younger age is harsher.
Mm-hmm.
So she struggled a
Mm.
lot. She was really angry for a long time. But towards the
Mm.
end of high school, she kind of got her motivation back. And right now, we lived together for a year because when I was in college, she moved down with me and she kind of got her group back on. And now she's in community college and she's doing good.
Nice. Nice.
That's really cool. Very
Mhm.
cool. And what's the youngest one doing right now?
She is in middle school. So
Oh,
right now she's
oh, she's
struggling
having
with
fun.
online learning. She doesn't
Oh,
have
Yes.
a friend.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And I'm sure so your parents are too then.
Hmm?
I said I'm sure your parents are too then with
Yeah.
online schooling, right?
Well, it's mostly my parents are technologically challenged. They know how to use Facebook. That's about it. So it's my sisters showing her, they're basically teaching her how to do all of that. And then she'll call me, oh, sure, come and stay with
Uh,
me for a week. Yeah.
mhm.
And then the middle one, her name is Wendy. She's doing okay. She
Nice.
didn't experience any of the moving, like any major moving. I think
mhm,
they've only moved once for
mhm.
her.
Mhm.
She's hanging in there. She has like the most average,
Life
I would say, yeah, out of all of us.
out of
Like
all you
obviously her
guys.
life is not, I'm not saying her life is easy,
Yeah, yeah,
but
no.
like she didn't have to constantly like be moved from one place to another. So
Right.
she has like her best friend, she's been friends with her for like 8 years now. And like
Oh.
I'm like, I never
Yeah,
had a
how do you
childhood
know
friend like
right?
that. Yeah.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
Mhm.
So, wow. All girls.
Oh yeah, all girls.
That's that's awesome. That's like girl
Wow.
power forever though. But like in the Latinx community, I know that having all girls isn't necessarily looked at as being a good thing. Am
Yeah.
I wrong in saying that?
No,
Right?
you're totally right. So
Okay.
I was the only wanted girl. After me, each try was for the boy.
Oh boy.
And
Mhm.
after the fourth one, when there was no boy, my mom was like, I'm done. I don't want any
Yeah.
more. We're not gonna have the boy. Whatever. And for like a long time, my mom was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I have any boys?
And it
And
wasn't her fault.
I know. And then until like I got to high school and like I learned biology, I was like, actually, that's
It's
on my dad.
that.
That's on my dad, not on you.
It
Yes.
is that. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And then was it a traditional Hispanic home in terms of like you had to serve your dad all the time, or was it, or were you, or was your family different in that sense where it wasn't traditional in that way?
It's like yes and no. Like
Mm-hmm.
my dad has never been like, you have to do this for me,
Mm.
but he'll like make snarky remarks if you don't. Like it's like an expectation for him,
Mhm.
but
Right.
it's never like you have to do this for me right now. It's
Okay.
like
A little
when we
passive
were younger,
aggressive.
yeah, when we were younger, it was harsher, but I feel like as we got older and as we started to develop our personalities and our confidence, we kind of put him in place. And now like he knows not to step out of line now.
Damn, with all of y'all girls, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mhm.
But did your mom also kind of try to enforce that
Yeah,
on
my
you
mom
guys?
actually was more of it than my dad. Like
Right.
the dynamic that my mom had, because her childhood wasn't the best. Like
Mm.
her family was also mostly girls. She only had one
Mm,
brother, and my grandpa was not happy about that. He really engraved into them that women ain't shit.
mm,
He
Mm.
basically cursed God and gave up religion because he didn't give him more boys.
mm,
And
Fuck, but
so
it was his fault. Okay,
exactly.
okay, okay.
And so like my mom and my aunts, they all kind of have this internalized misogyny and
Mm-hmm.
mm,
always they're constantly trying to prove that they can do more than men.
mm.
So when we were growing up, my mom would always like do this like thing like, don't you ever let a man treat you like this, don't you ever, like really powerful stuff. And then at the same time she's like, you got to learn how to cook, you got to learn how to do all
Right.
of that because you're a
Yes.
woman,
So
and you got to,
contradictory.
yeah. And it was like mixed messages. And then at the same time she's like, you got to do all of this, and then she would get upset if we didn't do it right, and she would just end
Yeah.
up doing everything for us.
Yes.
Very
Mm.
much like I have to control the situations all the time.
Yes.
Shit.
I think that's generational,
Yeah.
not just cultural, but that's the women that come before us. Yeah. Oh
Mhm.
my
Yeah. Yeah,
goodness.
because I totally relate to that shit.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely. Trying to
So
break
many
out of it.
mixed messages, right? Where you're
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
all right, so I'm not supposed to let a man treat me this way, but at the same time, I'm supposed to serve my man because that's what I'm supposed to do. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want me to do? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand what to follow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I
Exactly.
totally relate. I totally
Me
relate.
too.
Yeah.
Mommy's the same. I know
My
she's
mother's the
listening.
same way.
Same way. Same way. She would be love my independence. I was very independent minded since a child. And that was against, I guess, what people expected me to be, a dainty girl, and I was not. And then she would say, oh, you didn't cook your husband dinner? Your husband's coming home soon. I was like, Ma, I work too. I work too. She was like, but he's going to be hungry. And you didn't do the laundry and you didn't clean up. Don't you have your husband come home to a messy house? You need to, Ma, what happened to him cooking and him doing the laundry? Yeah. So that contradiction, I think it's
It's
there.
fucked
It's
up.
there. It's
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 so
it's
fucked up. I
Yeah.
it's
just, it's,
annoying.
and it's hard. You know what though? I feel
It's
like
annoying.
and we're going off on a little tangent here, but like my mom is the same fucking
Mm,
way, right? Like
mm,
David, my husband, he comes home from, his little 5-hour drive, chilling in the car, right? It's not that difficult, right? Listening to podcasts, you know, busting it out to some
mm,
music, right? He comes home and I'm sitting on the couch, I'm chilling because I'm tired too. Like
that's
I
right.
done worked. I got to deal with children. I got to deal with your old ass,
That's
right?
right.
And she's like, you're not gonna get up? You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna serve him food? I was like, he can get his own fucking food. Are you
Mhm.
anyway? I totally get it. So after high school, did you know what you wanted to do?
Yes, in college, your majors are, I was like, wow, how interesting is
Can
that?
you please tell the people?
Tell everyone.
What my majors were? Yeah. So no, I picked the college I picked because it was the only college on the West Coast that offered marine biology. And that's
Oh,
what I wanted to do. I was gonna be a marine
oh,
biologist because I went through a phase where I was obsessed with orcas, killer whales. And
Oh,
I
okay,
wanted to know
girl.
everything. I would spend hours on YouTube just watching videos and documentaries about killer whales. And
Okay.
so I was gonna be a
So
marine.
cute, by the way.
That surprised me. That just came out.
That just went way. I was like, wow,
Right?
killer whales.
Yeah, so I was gonna be a marine biologist. So I picked this college, and then I got there, and you have to do your general education credits, and they made me take a bunch of science. They made me take chemistry, they made me take calculus and biology, and I was sitting in those classes, and I was like, I fucking hate this.
Yes.
I don't understand. I don't care. This is so boring. No. And then when I told my advisor, I'm like, I hate this. I hate it so much. When am I going to learn about whales? And then she was
Yes.
like, oh, you don't get to do that until like your senior year when you
Yes.
pick the specific route. And I was like, so for 3 years, I'm going to be here bored as fuck, not understanding what the professor is saying. And so she was like, how about you take other general education? Take like sociology. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's like common sense. I don't want to do that. And she's like, just
Mm-hmm.
do it. It'll be an easy A for you if it's common sense.
Right.
And then I showed up to the first class and I was like, oh, I'm not bored. This is
Yes.
actually really interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I just started like bouncing around. I took environmental studies classes. I took ethnic studies classes. I was just like trying to like figure out
Figure it
what I
out.
wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
each time I would like take a different subject, I would switch my major to that subject. Like I switched my major 7 times in the span of 2
That's
years.
what you're supposed to do.
I was about to
Yes,
say, sounds
girl.
right. Sounds
That's what
about
you're
right.
supposed to do. Don't let
Okay.
nobody tell you not. Anyway, go ahead. Keep going.
And then my junior year, because I hated the science classes, I didn't do that well in them, go figure. I
Mm-hmm.
had to take summer courses, and they only had international studies and ethnic studies available that summer. And so I took those and I took them together, and it was the most interesting thing that I had ever heard, like both of them, because I wanted to do environmental studies, I wanted to do sociology, I wanted to do ethnic studies, and when I took international studies, I was like, this is basically all of that in
All
one,
of them.
all of
Mm.
them in one. And I was like, that's it, I'm doing this. And so my junior year, I declared that. And then basically I had to get a language minor, but since I already spoke Spanish, I went to take the test, and they're like, oh, you just need like 3 more classes and you can get a Spanish major. So I was like, bet.
Boom.
And so I did that. And since I had already taken a bunch of sociology classes, I kept that. So then I ended up graduating with a triple major in international studies, sociology, and Spanish.
Boom.
So
Drop that
awesome.
mic, baby. Yes. I
So
love it. So, like, what is life like right now for you then? I mean, I know the pandemic and everything, but like before the pandemic, like what were you doing? What was like work and like what was that? Are you in a relationship right now? Like all the
Mhm.
things. Tell me all the now things.
Yeah, so after college, I didn't know if I wanted to go straight into grad school. I felt really worn out.
Mm.
Um, and while I was in school, I got really involved with like departments and higher education there. Like I worked for the orientation program. And so that was a really great gateway to get a job. So I
Mm-hmm.
got an on-campus job. I was an admissions counselor for a
Nice.
year. And then there I transitioned to do like a graduate admissions, and
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I hated it. I hated graduate
Oh.
admissions because I was doing it for a STEM program, and it felt like I was sent back to like the 1950s because there are no women. Like even though all my supervisors were women, they were the only women I saw. When I went to like recruit and everything, it was all male dominated. It was all white folks dominated. Like for them, white women was diverse. Having one white woman
Wow.
was diverse. And that just felt so ugly to me.
Mm-mm.
Because I'm like, a white woman is not diversity. Like
Mm-mm.
what is this, the 80s? Like what? So it felt so ugly. I was really unhappy, and when the pandemic hit, it really like highlighted how unhappy I was.
Yes.
So I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And then I came up to Portland. That's where I live now, Portland, Oregon.
Yes,
And
I saw the pictures of the snow and the people just not knowing how to drive. Like
yeah,
I was like, what the
no,
fuck is going
no,
And
the city shuts down. Like people are making fun of like Texas, and like
Yes.
honestly, like I get it because Texas never gets snow, but here we get snow every year, and it's an issue every year. And I'm like, figure it out. We know this is gonna happen. It's
so
every
weird.
year.
They ran
Yeah.
into a pole. Like the pole don't move.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Anyway.
Mm-mm.
And then I found a nonprofit up here that works specifically with Latinx youth, and that felt like the right next step. And so that's where I've been there for about 6 months now.
Mhm.
And it's completely different than higher education because in higher education, I felt like I was constantly being tokenized for being a Latina woman.
Mm.
They were always like, we really value your opinion. And when I would share something that could make a difference, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, sure, sure. And like
Sounds
here,
familiar.
and
Mm-hmm.
here I'm working directly with the youth whenever I have an idea, like my supervisors are like, do it. And I'm like, whoa, that's
That's so
different.
cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So that's where I'm at right now. Mhm.
Oh, that's so
Nice.
nice.
Well, where did TikTok come in?
TikTok came in last January.
Hmm. What
Yeah.
made you say, this is
Yeah.
what I want to do? I'm
And that
going to
was
talk
before
to the
the
people.
pandemic.
Yeah, it was before the pandemic. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So it was I spent the holidays with my parents and my sister Wendy, who's the middle child, she's
Mhm.
always been obsessed with everything social media. And she like she has her Instagram color coded. Like she's the type of person that like really thinks about what she's gonna post on Instagram and make sure like it's an aesthetic. And so she
Wow.
was
I need
doing
to hire her.
she was like really into TikTok. And I was like, oh, what would you do if I get a TikTok? She's like, Jackie, nobody's even gonna follow you. And I was like, I'm gonna make a TikTok and I'm gonna get more followers than you in 1 week. Just watch. And so it was just to make fun of her.
Wow.
And like literally like the first video I posted was just like me putting bread on my cat's face, on her cat's face,
Mhm.
and it just blew up. And I was like, look at that. Look at that. I didn't even try. And then I was like, okay, people are following me. So then I just started posting videos like talking about how I felt about things. And then it just blew up from there.
Sister must be
Nice.
so mad.
Oh,
She must
so
be
bad.
so mad.
She was so mad.
She
She was
must
like,
be so
like the octopus. She was like, God.
mad.
Oh my God. Well, I wanted to ask you, how do you balance? You talk about a lot of important issues.
Mhm.
It can really drain you to be in that mode of educating, but yet experiencing all the injustice and the pain out there that you
Mhm.
talk about. How do you take care of you mentally, spiritually?
Yeah, so that's something that I'm still working on.
Okay.
In the beginning, because of everything that was going on with the pandemic, TikTok was kind of a distraction. It was like an outlet.
Mhm.
Um, if I was talking about all these things, which I've already like, this is all things that I've had in my head for so long that I didn't really have to deal with what was going on then and there, you know, figuring out that I wasn't happy at my job and I wanted to leave it. I didn't have to really think about that if I was just educating people on racial justice, you know, because
Mhm.
that's what I really wanted to do. And it was kind of like me trying to balance these two worlds. It's like, am I comfortable just being financially stable or do I want to be happy with what I'm doing?
Mm.
Um, and as I transitioned to this new job and like I became happy with what I was doing and I was also doing TikTok, it became really emotionally draining.
Mm.
Um, because like as creators, like we are here to bring awareness about issues. We're not here to do all of the work for you. And so that's something that I really struggled with, you know, because I wanted obviously to give this information to people because I don't think that it should be gate kept the way that it is. But also, I'm not a professor. Like I'm not getting paid to do this constantly. So
Mhm.
I can't constantly be putting so much time and effort to something when
Mhm.
half of the time most of the people are just going to leave hate comments.
Mm.
So my sister was really instrumental in that. She was like, Jackie, introduce the topics and that's it. Like introduce the issue, introduce all of that, but you don't have to make 6 videos about the same thing
Right.
because if people are really passionate about it, then they're going to do their own research. You don't have
Exactly.
to do everything for them. And I
Yes.
was like, you're right. And I felt like that was really like me just being the older sister, like when you're the
Mhm.
oldest woman in your family, you're so used to just doing everything.
That's
And
right.
I was like, you know what? Take a step back. Take a step back.
Mm,
Then your family, like, do work, introduce these topics, help know show people that like they're heard and they're validated, but also give them room to do their own work and
mm.
go by themselves.
Yeah.
All right, little sis. Okay. All
Yes. Well, no,
right.
but
Yeah.
it's true.
Great
And then also
advice.
just for like the black and brown community as well, that's what we've been talking about is like, look, we can't teach y'all like we can't give
Yeah.
you a booklet. I mean, if you want to know, you can find out yourself. You
It's
know what I mean?
always been there. The information was always there.
Yeah, it's not our job to do the work for you. So
Mm,
I'm so happy that you came to that conclusion with the help
mhm.
of your sister, of
Mhm.
course. Yeah, definitely. All right, so I have one last question. Are you going to continue TikToks?
Yeah. I am. So before I was doing TikTok, I was posting YouTube videos, but
Mhm,
they were about like how to apply to college. Since I
Mhm,
was a college what is it? Counselor,
mhm,
I was really frustrated that I couldn't get to people the way that I wanted to. So I was like, I'm just gonna post this on the internet. This is important information that everybody can apply. And then after that, I kind of just started like posting educational videos on YouTube. But those take so much time, effort to like edit, to post, and it takes so long to upload. Like people don't know that when
It
you
mhm.
hit
does.
upload, it doesn't upload in 5, it takes hours, and you have to be watching so you can post it, so you can be like, hey, go watch
I
this.
did know that.
Yes,
It,
it's a lot.
it's a lot. It takes so much work. And I was like, I hate this. Like, I love YouTube, but I hate this.
Mhm.
Yes.
And TikTok is just so much faster,
So
so
easy.
much easier, and you can
Yeah.
reach so many more people.
True.
Yes.
Um, so I've definitely like toned it down a lot from when I first started and when I first blew up, where I was constantly posting.
Mhm.
Because now I'm more like aware of like, hey, like this is getting really emotionally draining for you this week. How about
Mm,
tone it down, just
Right.
post random things. But it's definitely something that is become a part of my life and I'm really
Mhm.
comfortable doing. And it no longer feels like I have to spend, like before I would spend like maybe an hour like editing it and then uploading it. Now I just
mm.
like record it, quickly like edit, make things if I made an error, and I post it all within like 10 minutes. So now it's
Nice.
a thing that I do.
That's good that you gave yourself boundaries basically, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I'm not going to go past 10 minutes. This is what it's going to
exactly.
be and then that's it. Now I
Mhm.
got two more questions for you. Sorry, boo.
Okay, there you go.
How do you deal with the trolls?
I was
'Cause
thinking,
there's
oh
a
my
lot.
God, I was thinking the same thing. Did you see me looking at you? And I was thinking,
No.
Mama,
How do you deal with those trolls? Cuz like I looked at some of the comments and I'm like,
how
"Fuck
she do it?
yeah."
That's
Like, you
why I
know
was
what I mean?
asking about the
Yeah.
mental balance. How do you balance that? Because some of these people are
They are
crazy,
coming in for
crazy.
blood, Joe.
Yeah, so my sister's like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I would just turn off my phone and I would never go back online. Cause
Please.
yeah, some of the things I'm like, that's so rude. And there's some of them that like they're so messed up that they just make me laugh.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay.
what, why would you leave this? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? At first I really took it to heart. Like
Mm,
I was really insecure with what I was posting because I was
Mm,
like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like, I
right.
don't want to accidentally
mm,
say something and hurt a
Yeah.
community.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it did happen. Like when I like back in October, I went through a phase where people were trying to cancel me because I was trying to educate people on race. I was trying to educate specifically the Latinx community on like white passing and why white passing for Latinos is not a thing because Latinos not a race. So it's
mm.
weird that people say they're white passing when they're white. And
Yes.
but back then, I didn't really have like a full grasp, because I've lived
Mm,
both in Latin America and I've lived both in the US and in Latin America, like white Latinos never say they're not white. Like everybody wants to be white. And so
Yeah.
here, I get here and white Latinos are like, oh no, I'm brown. And it's like, but you're not. And so I was basically trying to say, I'm like, that's not white passing. Like for me, white passing would be like somebody who's really light skinned. Like, okay, it's like if they have a white parent, then that's white passing, not your entire family is white. But I was so stressed out. I was so stressed out back then.
Your entire
And I had
family.
already made like 4 videos about it, and
Yeah.
people were not getting it. And I was not doing good mentally that week. And I was like, these are some examples, and all the examples were horrible. And then people thought that I was trying to say that I believe that Afro Latinas were white passing. And so then it became this huge thing where then Afro Latinas were hurt because they're like, you're trying to say that our experiences are invalid. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. And like, I was a mess. And I was like crying for days because I was like, fuck, like I did the very thing that I didn't want to do. But it was also because I was letting the trolls and the haters make me doubt myself because I knew what I was trying to say, but I was trying to get them to understand when
They were
they
never
were just
gonna
trolling,
understand.
when they were just trolling, but I didn't
Yeah.
see that because I was too caught up in it. And so
Right.
after that happened, my sister's like, this is why I keep telling you to just introduce the topics and then drop it. And that was a really big learning experience for me. I was like, you don't have to answer comments from everybody. You can delete comments. You can just not acknowledge those comments because you know what you're saying. And when you start to second guess yourself, that's when you say something that's wrong or that can be misinterpreted. And then you have given those trolls power over you. And like that week was brutal. Like being dragged on the internet is horrible. It made me so sympathetic to everybody who's ever like on genuinely like been canceled because like as you're watching it, you don't think it's a big deal. You're like, just turn it off and everything. But it takes over everything you do. Like, okay, this was on TikTok, but then I was seeing things about it on Instagram and I was seeing things about it on Twitter. And I was like, this is awful.
Everywhere.
Like, I just want to like bury myself. This is horrible. So it's made me like understand way more like the impacts that social media really has on your mental health, because it like for 3 days I genuinely couldn't sleep because I was trying to think, how can I apologize,
How can I reword it? How can I
and my sister was just like, you're being defensive because you know you were right and you know you messed up, but you still know that you were right. It's just the way that you said it was very messed up. And I was like, yeah, this is so hard. And she's like, and this is why we don't dig ourselves in a bigger hole. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, put your phone down and don't post. And I was like, you're right.
Wow. Yes,
that's really good advice.
That's a good sister. I mean, and she's very aware. That's good for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I love this show. That's why I love talking to so other people can see and maybe have a little blueprint of what they're getting into, because that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Because you can tell in some of your videos where it was really getting to you when you were responding to certain things or trying to clarify certain things. And in my heart, I was like, oh no, baby girl, no, baby girl.
Yeah, like at that point, like my sister will call me and she'll be like, Jackie, stop posting. She's literally like, stop. I can tell. Stop it. I'm like, okay.
That is so good. You had that support system.
Yeah. And then my other question is, so we've been talking to a lot of other TikTokers, and one of the things that they were saying that has been consistent is the likes, right? And like one day you have 1 million likes and the very next day it's like 2 people liked it. Right? And I mean, I know it's kind of like in the same wheelhouse as what we're talking about with the trolls, but like, how did you personally deal with that? Did you not care? You were like, fuck it, I'm sending out this information. You like it, you don't like it, fuck you. Or was it like, well, like a lot of other people where it's like, what? Like just yesterday, I was the shit. Like millions of people liked it. And then now what? I got 12 people.
So for me, the really weird thing, like when I first started, I didn't really care that much. But once my account grew, it became really weird. I'm like, I have 100,000 followers. How come only 1,000 people are seeing this video? And then I started to really learn the ins and outs of how TikTok works.
Those
So
Yes,
algorithms.
teach me, because that's
yeah,
probably what I'm trying to
so
figure out.
TikTok really censors, like for example, if you're doing captions, if you have a particular word, it'll not show your video out to as many people. If you put a particular hashtag, it won't have as many views out to other people. It's really technical. So like sometimes like you'll post something and it says it has 0 views for like the first hour, and that's because you put a word or you use the sound that TikTok has on watch. So it's not going to put your video out. So then you have to take the video down and then re-upload it and just not use that sound and just not use that hashtag. So it's
Interesting.
really frustrating. And obviously,
Mhm.
like for people who haven't been on the app for a long time, like how would you know that?
Yeah,
Like, why isn't it there?
right.
And then there are other times where like it doesn't matter. You can literally just not do anything wrong and your video is just not going to be put out there because you uploaded it at a really busy time or because you have a video right now that's like trending. So that's the thing that I've noticed, like whenever I have a video that's blowing up for like 3 or 4 days, anything else I post after that is not going to do that well because the algorithm is just pushing that one video out. So if you have a video that's like a hit, then maybe the next 3 videos just post something random. And then if you really have something that you want people to see, wait until like that video starts to slow down and then post that video and then it'll do better.
That's great
I
advice,
just
man.
learned something. Everybody listening
Mm,
is gonna learn something with that one.
That was a good one.
All right. So then my last thing is, do you have anything that you'd like to say to your fans and the people who listen to you and, check out your TikToks religiously like me?
Yeah, I guess the thing that I try to get across the most is that I'm a human being. I'm just a person, like it really worries me sometimes when people leave comments and it's like, oh, you never do anything wrong. Like you never miss, you never do all that. And I'm like, I do miss. I do make mistakes. And please don't just like blindly follow whatever I say. Like I'm here to introduce topics, but I want you all to form your own opinions. And I want you all to do your own work and do your own research because you can't just blindly follow what one creator says, because then the minute that creator does something wrong, you question everything they've ever said. And then you don't really, you're kind of like, oh, this person ain't shit. So whatever you said before and whatever you taught me, that was all wrong. And so it's okay. Like people can make mistakes, but don't just blindly follow somebody. Be critical, critically think about everything that somebody posts,
That's right.
and also understand that creators are also just regular people and they have their bad days, they make their mistakes, and that's okay. We're all learning together. This is like I learned just as much from you all than you all learn from me. Like most of the topics that I talk about, it's like people will leave a comment and they'll say, hey, can you talk about this? Do you know about this? And then I'll do research and I'm like, holy shit, this is really cool. And then I'll post about it. It's like we're all just learning together.
I
Oh,
love that.
that's
That was
wonderful.
beautiful.
That's
Yes.
wonderful.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it here unless Diana, did you have any questions?
No, that
No?
was
All right.
beautiful. Let's
That
end it
was good.
there.
Yes. All right. So to my listeners out there, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate y'all so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Jacqueline. It was amazing to finally meet you in person and to talk to you rather than watching you on the screen on the TikTok. I sound like an old person. The TikTok.
The TikTok.
Anyway.
Yes, Grandma.
Shut up. So to my audience, I love y'all. Deuces. We are out.
Deuces.
Bye.